Welcome to all of you, and you will be muted right now because we are about to start.
Good evening, Erev Tov, as we say. I'm Dr. Bor. I'm the director of the Mark G. Loeb Center for Lifelong Learning. And with us tonight is artist Tammra Sigler. Tammra has painted. Hi, Tammra. Good evening. Tammra Sigler has painted and taught in the Baltimore, Washington, and Naples, Florida areas for the past 50 years. She has exhibited her work both nationally and internationally, and is represented in many major corporate and private collections, as well as the permanent collections of the Baltimore Museum of Art, Baltimore, Maryland, and the National Museum of Women in the Arts, Washington, D.C., the Baker Museum, Naples, Florida, and the American University Museum, Washington, D.C. She considers herself an expressionist and gestural painter and is known for her color play and high energy, fresh, spontaneous work. So, ladies and gentlemen, before I'm going to ask Tammra a few questions, I just want to say that our technician tonight is Becca Waltmeyer. Can you raise your hand, Becca? And if you have questions for Tammra, please put them down on the chat, or at the end of the interview, you can voice yourself, you can speak up and ask Tammra the questions. Also, I want to take the opportunity and thank the Beth El Congregation for allowing us to make this program live. And after the program, if you want to watch it again, you can see it on Beth El Facebook. So here we are. Tammra, I want to ask you, when did you become interested in art as a career?
First of all, thank you, Dr. Bor, for inviting me, and thank you for Beth El for hosting this for me, and Becca for doing the mechanics up there, Ellen Marks for managing all of us. The answer to that is, in junior high school, I was the only one that liked art. Everybody disliked the art teacher. That was Nellie Norris, and there'll probably some chuckles out there. And but I liked Nellie Norris, and Nellie Norris liked me. And then I went to Park School for my last year and a half, and the art teacher there, Miss Van Order, called me up and said to her desk and said, in her words, I remember exactly, "Tammy, dear, you really should pursue your art." That was the beginning, and I never thought about my art as anything to pursue as a career. However, I went to Syracuse University, where they had a strong School of Fine Arts, although I was registered as a general student, general studies, what do we call them? Whatever. And after I got there and classes hadn't begun, I discovered that all I could do there was take cut and paste. So you were allowed to switch schools there, and I switched to the School of Fine Arts. But the best part is that I went back to Baltimore for the summer and took a painting class at Maryland Institute. They had a visiting professor from New York, a painter, and I had not painted yet my first year at Syracuse. They won't let you paint. They give you early classes, design and stuff. And he watched me paint, and he came up to me at the very beginning of the class and asked me what I was doing and a few other questions. I was going to go into art education, and he said, "Why are you doing that? You're a painter." And the world stopped.
Wow. So just born in Baltimore?
I was born in Baltimore. Yes.
Elementary school and middle school and high school, just remind us.
Yeah, well, I was over at School 64 in Ashburton, and then Garrison, Forest Park, and then Park for the last 2.5 years, I think, something like that.
I see. See. And can you share with us what influenced your artistic style?
You know, it's funny. It was kind of there. They put a brush in my hand, and in that class that summer, with Schuler, I just started to paint. He had a live model, and my attitude or my relationship to paint and the brush just happened, and that's what he saw. And I'm going to show you, Becca. Please show L'Oreal, and that is the painting that is, I guess, my touchstone painting. L'Oreal, can you keep that a second? And he came over to talk to me about the painting, and he said, "What do you think of your painting?" That's how a critique is. They ask you first, typically. And I said, well, it's all right, but I'm really having a problem with her hands. And now show the close-up, please, of her hands. And then he said to me, if there's anything really real in this painting, it's her hands. And that was what took me back, that I had been, and the key word here is struggling so hard, because I'm going to repeat struggle later when I have a different slide to show you. And now, Becca, show the face, please. And you can see the same thing, that I'm pushing paint until her face emerges. And I honestly can't tell you how a beginning painter knew how to do that, because I just did it. I'm finished with that question. Dr. Bor, if I answered it, I think I did.
Yeah, thank you so much. And tell us more about your family. If you can share who is in your family, where are they now?
Well, my parents aren't here. No one's here. I'm the lone survivor, in fact, except my wonderful children and grandchildren, but I'll try to keep it together for that. We lived near the original Beth El on Dorothy. We could walk there. And it was a long walk, but we could walk there. And my parents were founding members of Beth El, which has come to mean a lot to me now, particularly tonight, because I'm so proud to be a part of the whole spirit of Beth El. I do remember a really special story about early on when Cantor Hammerman first came to Beth El. It was 1953, something like that, 56, I think, 56, 50. Well, let's see, I was 9, so it was 52. And he was a bachelor, and my parents invited him to dinner. And I saw my mother down in the basement pulling out glass dishes. And I said, "What are you doing?" And she said, "Well, we're having the Cantor for dinner, and he's kosher, and we have to have these special dishes for him." And he came in to the house, and I had never seen a more handsome man in my whole life. He sat across the table from me, and I just looked into his blue eyes the whole dinner. I couldn't believe his presence. And of course, I was so young, but I had my Hebrew education, Sunday school, all at Beth El, and got to know Cantor Hammerman very well personally through the years. I even painted him. He modeled for me in my studio on Logan Road. And we all became very good friends. I always thought he was looking just at me when he was up at the altar. That's what you call chutzpah.
So I just want to say that we are very sorry that for your recent loss of your husband, Arnold. Our entire Beth El family extends our deepest sympathy to you and your family. What influence did Arnold have on your art and career?
Thank you for that question, and I appreciate your sentiments. You asked me about doing this talk about 4 months ago. So he was still with us then. And of course, he was very involved in my art. There's a picture of us, my husband and I. Well, he's not in the picture; it's just me. When we first met, and it was down at if you'll show that, it's me sketching down at the harbor in Baltimore, and that was like one of our first dates. And I think he was taken by the whole spread, the whole thing, you know. And that's enough. Thank you. But the next slide is great. The next slide is proof that he really did help me. He was very involved with my work. He went to all of my shows until, oh my goodness, quite a bit later. But until I finally said, stop coming. It's just too much. And you've done it enough. You don't have to come to every show. But he also schlepped my work. He framed my work. We had a big Vanagon, which was the back opening was 60 inches, just so we could move my work. He helped me strap work down here in Florida on top of the car with things. But the best part, well, we always had a studio for me wherever we lived. That was the primary thing. Before the idea of a living room, a kitchen, or whatever, we had to have a studio for me. And he was really tacked into that. But when I would work during the day, he'd come home at night for dinner. And if I was excited about what I had done, I'd ask him to come upstairs right away to my studio. And I could look at his face and know if the painting was working. If there was something that was connecting, I watched his face. And so I used him actually as my barometer a lot. And he wasn't, we sometimes disagreed, but I could measure the painting from his face.
And what's your relationship to Beth El, as far as, can you tell us about your experiences with our life cycles that you had at Beth El?
I'm not sure what you mean by life cycle. Oh, my life cycle.
Yeah.
Yeah. I went to Sunday school and Hebrew school. I was shy. I would only go if I could be in my brother Mitchell's class, who was 15 months older. So we had special permission that I could be up a grade to his grade. And that got me there. That's just a kind of cute aside. I was bat mitzvah, as were my brothers bar mitzvah there. And I was then even confirmed. Do we still have confirmation class there?
Yeah. It's called different. It has a different name. It's called Achshav now. It's different name. Yes, we do have.
Confirmed. Rabbi Agus did not live very far from our home. Rabbi Agus was the rabbi at the time who did all this. And his daughter Edna was my age, and he used to be in a carpool. I think it was to Garrison. And so I would sit in the back seat and watch the back of Rabbi Agus's head. And I did have an occasion I'd like to tell you about, try to make it short. While our children were in, I guess, 11, 12, and thinking about bar mitzvah time and their Hebrew education, Beth El required Sunday, and then was it 3 days a week or 2 days a week? It was three total.
3 total days.
So, and that they were doing sports, and it was, I saw it as an issue. Of course, we're not the only parents that had that issue, but I saw it as an issue, and I didn't want our kids to be turned off. I wanted them to be excited about their education. And we started talking about, well, maybe we should leave Beth El and go to another synagogue that would have more relaxed responsibilities. And we started to check that out. And my cousin, Bob Smelkinson, was very involved with the synagogue. Somebody let Rabbi Agus know about this, and I suspect it was Bob. And Rabbi Yeager sent me a postcard from Maine, I think, where he vacationed or someplace up north, and said, I'm out in Maine, but I'd like to talk to you when you come home. Will you please come in and see me? Which I did. And he wasn't an easy person to talk to. It's very intellectual, and he was not easy to talk to. So we talked uneasily for a while. And then we were finished, and he broached the subject, and he said, well, I just want you to know you belong here spiritually. And I didn't know what he meant by that. And then my mother died, and she was buried at Levinson. And then someone stood up and said, we will now be following what we call the progression, the funeral group. And we were going to stop in front of Beth El for a special prayer, which is not typically done. And all the cars pulled in and around into the circle. And Cantor Hammerman got out of his limousine, opened the front doors of the synagogue, and chanted a special prayer for my mother. And I was in the other limousine, and I said to my husband, I said, I know what he means now that I belong here spiritually. So I thought that was a very sweet story.
Sweet, special. Can you share with us a week of work for you, and how do you fit your art into your busy daily routine?
That has changed through each period, moving from babies to school children, to upper school children, to then, each phase has changed. What I did when we had our first child, which I think is a really interesting thing that I did, I said, the main thing about painting is really not, quote, talent or inspiration, it's discipline. And I knew that. And I knew in order to keep painting, I had to keep painting. And I hired a babysitter every morning to come from 9 to 12. The baby slept. Baby had breakfast at 8 and went back to bed at 9, but I didn't care. My studio then was in the basement. So babysitter sat on the living room couch and read, but I didn't have to worry about not hearing the baby. We didn't have those things where you could hear. We didn't have phones, of course, but we didn't have those other things where you plugged in to the baby's room, at least at the time when Jennifer was a baby. So then I'd come up at 12. So the other discipline I had was having a live model. And if you have a model coming, you're paying for her. You don't just say, I don't feel like painting today. You show up and you paint. So that was another trick of mine. Then it was hard, actually. It was very hard finding a pattern that was workable. And I was often very frustrated by that. I need at least 3 uninterrupted days that are in a row to develop an idea. So usually you're kind of rough at poking around at something the first day, you get a glimmer of an idea at the end of the first day, you begin to develop it the second day, the third day, you're ready to roll. And hopefully you get 2 more days to roll and keep rolling. But it does demand that kind of continuity. And like I said, with school pickups and doctor's appointments and athletic sports to show up for, it was challenging.
Tell to us your creative process in your artistry.
My creative process. Well, this surprises people. I never know what I'm going to paint. And if I think I know what I want to paint about, it doesn't happen. It shifts midway to something that's much deeper inside me that I don't even know. The most important thing that I talk to my students about and myself about is you have to really turn your mind off, your thinking mind. And that I use the music a lot because the music I hear the music and I just unfold to the music, and any other things disappear, maybe not right away. Sometimes, unfortunately, you can work for 3 hours, the segment that you've allocated for that morning, like say 9 to 12, and it's about 11:30 when you begin to get a rhythm in your work. So that can be disconcerting if you can't stay longer. So the creative process for me, and remember, every single artist is different. Some artists sketch. I make a mark, and then I answer that mark, and then I have a conversation. It's a conversation with marks on my canvas that they talk to each other, they ask each other questions, they ask me questions, and then I respond again. And then an idea begins to emerge. That's the way I'm painting now. My earlier paintings, when I painted figures, and I always had a model, it was seeing and responding, seeing and responding. But I'm still making marks and responding to those marks, but I'm looking at something. Now I'm looking more into my head, and I'll recognize something. Also, you have to have a belief or confidence. Not that I'm that confident. I don't really think any artist is as confident as they come off appearing. I know they're not. But you have to have a belief or truth to say, this is a truth, and I will find it. It will find me. So what is that? It's a kind of hope. Trust is really the word I'm looking. It's a trust, and just let it go. If a certain thing, like I have a painting where a coffee cup, Lou Zellner, I don't know if you're there, it's painting you have, there's some coffee cup floating in this painting. I don't know why it was there. It was a random thing. I painted a coffee cup. I left it, and I believed in it. It was there for a reason. Usually, I don't know what my paintings are necessarily about today. I learn from them maybe 2 weeks later, 2 months later, 2 years later. It could be anything that I, anytime, sometimes 20 years later.
So I wonder, how did you, as a young artist, find your way into a gallery? Can you share some of your experiences about your galleries and shows?
That's a great question. I would say a lot of luck. I brought a painting. The Baltimore Museum used to have for Maryland artist shows when you competed. So with that competition, I always would enter something. I think every other year, the Maryland Regional and the Maryland Artists, was back then. We didn't have the internet. So any show you heard about or got a notice about or you saw or heard, you would try to get your work accepted. And it was always a nice pat on the back to get into the museum for a Maryland show, and I did. And at one particular show, Costas Grimaldis walked by. He owns the significant gallery in Baltimore, and he said in his Greek way, "Oh, who did that painting?" And I wasn't there, but they told him, and he contacted me and asked me to show with him. And I showed with him for many, many years. And he was a wonderful gallerist. And when I began to stop painting the figures, and started doing these kinds of dream spaces, and he came to my studio. Gallerists will pay a studio visit to your studio to see what you're up to and prepare for your next show. And he came, and I said, "Well, Costas, it's going to be very different." And he came, and he loved my new work, which was no figure. And he said, "Don't you worry about that. We'll find you a new audience." And so that's the best thing any gallerist can say to an artist. He could have said, or a lesser gallerist might have said, "Can't you paint any more figures?" And a lot of people have said that to me, even still. "Why aren't you painting figures anymore?" Well, they got finished. It was done. Then I showed with Dalsheimer, downtown in Baltimore, different type of gallery, but it was a wonderful time for art. Art was really, money was good. I can't remember the year exactly. Money was good, and people were really buying art, and all of the large corporations, et cetera, were trying to use real art instead of, picture art. So I've gotten to a lot of collections through them. And the best thing was that they sent me to New York to learn how to monoprint, to make monoprints. I knew nothing, and I learned it doing it. And they're responsible for that. And they brought great joy to my work and my art making, and I think to my collectors. Then I also had some time with Gomez. He took me to South America with about 5 other artists, and we had 4 museum shows and a lot of hoopla in South America together. Let's see, I think there's another one. Well, if I missed one, I'm sorry. I can't just remembering off the top of my head. So
You share plenty. So I want to ask you about the different area of your career. I want to know more about your teaching and what part it plays in your life as a producing artist.
a lot. I was asked to teach in Baltimore by a woman who I can see in my head perfectly, but I cannot remember her name. And it was before you were with Beth El, Dr. Bor, so you wouldn't remember her. And it was probably also in the 70s or something. I don't know, early 80s. I'm imagining I was in my 30s. So I can't figure all that. But and she asked me to teach there, and I said no, I don't really want to teach. I didn't want to be out of my studio, and I didn't want to be again doing anything that was cut and paste, because I was really involved with real issues in my paintings, and I didn't think I could teach them. And she said, she kept at me. She kept begging me to teach. She said, I know you'll be a wonderful teacher. And I don't know why she knew that, but she said that. And finally, she said, listen, just try it for a month. And I did. I said, okay. I couldn't say no anymore. And I did it. And it was awkward at first. And I didn't like it at first. I was very frustrated. These were adult students who wanted to know how to do it. And I wasn't teaching how to do it. I try to teach how to think and how to see, and not how to do. And there is not a ABC how to make a painting. And they thought there was, like a tennis lesson or something like that. Well, of course, there's no ABC to a tennis either, to anything really. So somehow I started to feel good, and it took some time, and I began to communicate what I wanted to communicate. The best thing is that it forced me to articulate my ideas. And I'm sure you've heard of that before as a teacher. And as a painter, I never had to really articulate my ideas, or not very much. I had to make an artist statement here and there. But in this way, I had to talk to a class. And not only taught me how to articulate them, but it taught me to look and figure out what were my ideas. Did I really know what they were? And how did they all come together? So as we typically say, I learned more from teaching than my students did. But so I continued to teach forever, and since then, never stopped. And I teach once a week typically, and my students bring me tremendous joy. And today they come into, I forgot to walk you through the studio. So I'll show you in the back where the dirty room, I'm in the clean room here. And we all are in there, and everybody get ideas off of each other. It's just a wonderful, joyful happening. And again, kind of sparks them and sparks me as well.
So before you take us to your dirty room, to your
My
room,
wife?
the room that you work at, the
Oh, the
room
room.
that you, yeah. Can you share some of your Judaic art? What inspired it? Your Judaic art.
Mark Loeb.
Oh, really?
Rabbi Mark Loeb, yes. For those of you that don't know Beth El, Rabbi Mark Loeb was the most, just a very awesome rabbi that we had, fortunately, for how many years? I don't know. After Rabbi Agus and before Rabbi Schwartz. And when he loved art, he loved opera, he loved everything. I don't need to talk about everything he loved. But he did love art, and I was his touch person when he needed something or wanted something. Also, a member of the congregation, Al Shapiro, who's he was a very fine graphic designer. And when there was some event, quite often, might I say, typically, Al Shapiro was hired or asked to do it. And he did great work. I loved his work. And he would ask me to provide the image that he wanted. And each time I'd be taken aback, but I don't really like commissions, but I've always learned from every commission and grown from every commission. So, or challenge like that. That was something out of my ballywalk, that's the expression. And I would try to do it. And he would be thrilled, and and it would work. So it was great. Then Rabbi Loeb we worked on the Haggadah together, the new Haggadah, and it's not so new anymore. We worked on did the small prayer book for the small service. What's that prayer book called? The small one that you take to the home, and the one that we use for the minyan.
Sim Shalom, I believe.
Yeah. So, like I said, all of his invitations and all of his special events were from, he would ask me, and I sent Becca some pictures. I was at the synagogue for Yom Kippur unexpectedly because of Milton that came to Florida, and my children asked me to be in a safe place. Oh, I wanted to talk to you about something here. That that was a Rembrandt drawing. Yes, Schuler. Back to the very beginning of our talk, I talked about John Schuler, and this is important to me at least, and I hope it's something meaningful to those that have tuned in. Here's somebody who is well depicted, but what I learned from Schuler, and I made a mention a little bit a few minutes ago about my mark, and you can see this is a Rembrandt drawing, and look at his line and how varied his line is, and the personality of the line and the energy of the line. And I didn't know any of that when I was 18 years old, you see. Someone had to show me. He didn't show me a Rembrandt, but he explained, or I became acquainted with the concept that line speaks, and line has energy, and line has life. And that's very key. And I wanted you all to see that, to who I am as an artist. I'm not a Rembrandt, trust me, but I am concerned with the sound of the line and the energy of the line. Thank you, Becca. Well, let's go over to the Beth El stuff. I shouldn't say stuff, that's tacky. These are the, he asked me to do, we can run right through them quickly, if you will, for 5 of them, I think, and they're all used for this prayer book. I think he called me at 9 a.m. and said, we need some images for this prayer book. And this was morning service, afternoon service, evening service, and something like that. They're now lining the hallway back to the rabbi's office. And I think the first piece I did for you was again, something that Al Shapiro had asked me to do. I don't remember what it was for. Is that turquoise one? Do you see it? I have a note for that. Let me see. Well, there are a lot more. Well, that's mine. That's a different painting. That's not for this. The prayer book, there were 5, and the Hanukkah and the number 14 and 15 and 13. Now that's the hallway. That was bought, donated by the Hunaveises. And that's a monotype. And that's an oil on canvas, and that is about Hanukkah. That was originally painted for the Jewish Times cover. They asked me to do a cover for them, and then I donated that painting to Beth El. And the next one is probably the one for Passover. No, that's a sketch I did of Rabbi Loeb, and it was used for one of his events, aka Al Shapiro. It's kind of a sweet sketch, isn't it? But there you can see my concern with line and how the line changes through not a whole lot, but how the love of the line is there. Can we do, oh, wait, what do you have next? You're on Rabbi Loeb. You did not show the Haggadah, number 14.
Number 14, is that this one?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah. Can you enlarge that at all? Okay, well, that's a canvas. And that was done for the Haggadah. My concept was to do a big painting and then to be able to zoom in, like, where's Waldo? And find each part of the Haggadah in that painting, each part of the story of Passover. And it's, again, hanging in the small sanctuary there. And I can't point because I don't have a pointer, but and I don't want to spend that much time. But it was the concept, what they did follow through with the concept. Mark Loeb did the text for the Haggadah. You can see the Seder plate up in the right-hand corner. It looks like a moon, and all the things are on the side. Thank you. And then there are the Jews leaving. There are the pyramids right below that, leaving Egypt. And in the middle, of course, is the house of with the angel of death behind the house with the X on the door of the X mark of the X on the door of the house. Yes. Yes, and so on. The plagues are up in the left corner. And I don't know the rest. But that's, I think, how are we in time? I'd like to walk you through the studio and then finish up with the story. Why don't I finish up with one story? I want to talk about the Abba Ibn.
Sure. But go ahead, show us your studio, please.
Now?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, I'm going to try to make this work. Let's see, and not make you all nauseous. Okay. So I'm going to walk you through. I'll take you to I'm sorry about this. I should have flipped the camera. So this is, you walk in. Of course, I don't typically have that back door open. So the painting that was behind me is at the far end. That's called block stacking. And I don't want to talk about any paintings in particular, but the work I'm doing right now, this is the big wall installation, and that's 48 paintings, I think. And this is called Tethered. And I'm going to take you over to just see a few of them. Let's see. Oh, that's my brother and I. I didn't even realize the camera's picking that up. That's Mitchell and I, and we were tethered. I'm trying to hold his hand, and he's not letting me. It's another one. And the concept of this, these are all painted on a house painter's drop cloth. And the idea is that I'm now tethered to him. But we are all tethered to each other, civilizations, the universe, the cosmos. And that's where I was going. Now down here, this is where the idea, these don't hang here on the floor. I put them down here just for us. These were the feed for that. And you'll see that's why there are a lot of these geometric kinds of things happening. For a very organic painter, it's a surprise to see all this geometry. But what happened in these is that this one I looked at, and this is how the creative process is. I looked at that and then I said, what's going on there? It looks like that's a capsule in space, and that is one of the things that goes off to land, but it's tethered, it's connected, it won't get lost. And all of these grew. This is a great thing to be able to show you. From this painting, when I finished this painting, what interested me was that. And all of that line work and the building of those squares and how they were moving through. And the lines interested me, and they're in, well, let's see, is it in this one? Not as much. This is another one from that group of blocks lining up. And then the bigger one is in the back, and you'll see more of these geometry lines, which interested me, which took me to that group and then to the big wall. These are, I didn't even introduce my monotypes. I'm so sorry. All of these are all portfolios filled with monotypes and more. And these are some monotypes. Just a quick show. And more monotypes. These are not monotypes. These are oil mixed media on paper. I'm going to take you into the back. So here's the other block painting. This is called Blocks Crashing. And you can see, no, I don't see as much drawing in there, but I thought I did. It's kind of beginning. Here it is, some more. So that's really describing the creative process. This is pretty clean right now. This all opens up, and then these tables there in the back under the heater or the air conditioner, that's what we open up. I have easels here. So I move out all the furniture, all these tables, we move them right outside, and my students all set up in here. I have an empty wall. I haven't painted during my husband's illness, but it's waiting for me probably next week. And this is not typically so clean. And that canvas is empty, saying, come to me. Okay?
Yeah. Tammra, what is the average length time that you paint a piece, an art piece? Average, not,
Oh, there is no average. I do want to show you this, though. I sent this to, here. I sent this to, where is it? Wait a second. There. That's important. Okay, that's important for all of us. When people ask me that question, Dr. Bor, I say 40 or 50 years, because you could finish a painting even in a half an hour. Not really, not really, but in a short time. But it's that 50 years of experience or confidence or know what you know how to do, not know how, but know how to do, that will allow you that freedom and the ability to just move through it. But again, don't think it's so easy, and the idea of all of that confidence and knowing is not really so. It's, in part, but only in part.
Yeah. Say that Bethel is very fortunate to have artists at your magnitude because your work has been shown both in our Sidurim, in the Agada, and all over the hallways. We have your work, and we're very fortunate that you're part of us. So
Well, thank
thank you
you.
for
Thank you.
all of that. I wanted to open the discussion now. We have about 10 minutes for members, the viewers, if they want to ask you any questions, or Becca, if you can read the questions that are written. This is the time for you, ladies and gentlemen, to ask Tammra questions.
Yeah, Tammy, it's Anne. Can you hear me okay?
I can.
Yeah, well, I have a question for you because I was wondering, and this is going to be a tough question, and I hope I don't make you cry too hard. I was wondering if, I saw that blank canvas there, and I was wondering if some of all this built up and all this time and this time that you were spending with Uncle Arie and the laughing of it and the hurt of it, do you think you would take that hurt or the feeling of the loss of him and make a painting of it? Or that's
Probably it won't come out directly, Anne. That happened to me when my father died. Well, actually, I do remember there was a quote unquote sad looking painting I did, but when my brothers died, I don't think so. It will come out, but in a different way and when it wants to. And I have no control. There's like a third hand here. I have no control what will happen. I wondered about that myself. Why aren't my paintings sad when I feel sad? And I think that I have a love affair with paint itself and my materials, and they jazz me up. I get excited when I'm painting. And I think I also have although I'm not sure today, only because I'm in mourning, in fact, but I think I have a certain joy inside me that comes out, a joyfulness. And that's what what ultimately comes out in my paintings, even if I'm quote unquote feeling sad. But Anne, I'll let you know. I'm curious too. I really don't know.
I'm just curious. But Uncle Arnie's laugh was always so contagious, so I could see how your art could make you just laugh. And
well, that's very kind and sweet, Anne, and I really thank you for that question. And I'll think about that question also when I'm thinking about the things that are hard for me right now.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I didn't mean to put you on such a tough spot, but
well, it was good because other people are probably wondering too.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you.
Can I say something? I'm Mary Chang. Alan Rossoff is here. We have 7 of your paintings in our home. And I just want to say that absolutely every single day, no matter what room I'm in, I am filled with such joy. And I'm being moved to tears. I love absolutely each and every painting you've done for different reasons. I can show you behind me in my office is this, if you remember.
Can you see Mary Chang? I can't see you.
We can see it. We can see the piece. Yeah, beautiful.
In my office, here I am. But I just have to say thank you from the bottom of my heart.
Here I can. Wait a minute. Gallery view.
Every single day, I am living gratitude of your work. So I just wanted you to know that. Thank you.
Thanks, Mary. That's a kind thing to say, and it makes me feel good, happy. Thank you.
Any other questions, Becca?
Yeah, I have one question from the chat that says, where can people find your work to purchase?
Well, right now I'm not working through a gallery, and it actually is to the purchaser's advantage because I don't have to give a commission to a gallery of any kind. But people contact me all the time, and they ask to meet me at the studio privately. And surprising perhaps to you, I sell a fair amount of work still to Baltimore and ship it up. and not only small pieces, big pieces too. So people know how to find me. I don't do a whole lot to jump in people's faces, but they find me.
That's great. I see another question, Becca.
Just a little comment from Sue. It says, "Hi, Tammra. Wonderful to see you, and the blank canvas that is ready for you whenever you are ready to make your mark."
Thank you. That's a great comment. Which Sue?
It says Sumo's phone, so I'm not exactly sure.
Okay, that's lovely. Well, I'm sure she'll get back to me and I'll know.
Yeah. And then for anyone interested, I put Tammra's website in the chat as well, so you can.
Yeah, my website. I may as well tell you I've been bad at keeping it up. There's also Instagram, which again I haven't done a whole lot too lately, but Instagram is typically more spontaneous. And do I have time to tell the Abba Eben story?
Yeah.
Can I
I was
just
about to ask you to tell the story. We have 6 minutes.
say something
Yeah.
first, Tammy? I'm so glad I spent the last 3 days thinking about nothing else but remembering that at 7 o'clock on Sunday night I had to tune into this. It was well worth it.
Oh, that's Jackie. I couldn't figure. Hi, Jackie. That's great. Thank you, Jackie. Well, you've watched my work through so many years. I'm happy that I've had this opportunity to put words out. It's one thing to just look at a painting or an experience and that's it, but then to have a broader understanding of how it came about, or in my case, how I came about. And Jackie's my older cousin and a collector, right, Jackie?
Pretty old, yes.
No, not the old.
Collector from
my senior cousin and a collector. How's that?
Collector from the very beginning.
Absolutely. She believed in me way back before I had
even to a few paintings that you won't acknowledge.
That's right. I want to tell you about Abba Eben, though, because I love the story, and especially for this context. Al Shapiro asked me to do something for, can you bring it up, Becca? It's the Abba Eben. It should be number Loeb Eben 23. And this was an invitation. Abba Eben was coming from Israel for Mark's anniversary or something. Not the next one. I'll go back to that. Well, actually, stay there. There. Okay. So on the left is Mark. It's you can see it's gotten age and stained through age, but they were both the same color and they were both the same size. Well, this is it, but they were all white. So Mark Loeb is on the left and Abba Eben is on the right on my screen. And I never paint from a photograph because if I'm painting a figure, it has to be live and alive for me to be alive. It's that energy and it comes across. But I said, okay, I'll figure out a way. And I went to the library and brought home everything I could. We didn't do internet then. About Abba Eben, every picture. I wanted to get to know the man. And I think I found some videos of him too. And I wanted to feel his presence so I could go to my studio and do him. And can you show the one, that other one? I said, not that. I must have done 50 Jewish men. And this one I looked at, I said, oh my God, it's my father. And Jackie, I can't see you, but you could probably agree. Or anybody that knew my father. And so that was good because I had never painted my father. And
Who is
Jerome Katz. So I was in the middle of failing. Can we now go back to just normal screen so I can not, that's, but yeah, I was failing. And we don't allow us to fail, do we? No, we don't fail. We keep going and trying and trying. So I went down to the dining room table, left the studio, totally frustrated. What am I going to do? Brought a sketch pad and I looked at the Shabbos candles were up on the counter. And I brought one here. And I said, well, gee, maybe I can draw with wax. So I started to actually sketch and just draw how I thought Abba even looked. And just like this, you can't see anything when you do that. And then I took, it's in the other room right now, a lemon zester. And I rubbed charcoal into the lemon zester, on a paper plate. And now I had charcoal dust. And then I rubbed the charcoal on the sketch pad. And now I had these beautiful black marks because the charcoal stuck to the wax. And Abba even emerged. This is true. This is a true story. And I had to thank the Lord, I suppose. But I think the lesson, and I'd love to close on this, is that as soon as I stopped trying and just started to flow, I couldn't see, I'm drawing blind. And I just let it go, and it happened. And that's how art happens for me.
Wow. On a personal note, I just want you to know, Tammra, that my wife Hannah and I donated to Micah one of your pieces named Sheila. And now it is at the alumni room in your honor.
Thank you.
Okay. And when you go there, I want you to see that piece. Okay. And also, ladies and gentlemen, if there are no questions, I just want to do a little just description of what's coming up at Beth El. And so we are part of the Mark G. Loeb Center for Lifelong Learning. I see a lot of new faces. We have a catalog with about 100 pages full of courses, movies, classes. We do art classes, text, and so forth. We teach Hebrew. We have once a month an interview with distinguished guests like Tammra. We have once a month, first Wednesday, concerts every first Wednesday of the month. So if you are interested, if you're local or you are interested to be online, please call or write to Ellen, our amazing administrator, Ellen Marks, and her email is Ellen M like Mary, at bethelbalto.com. So that's something that everyone can enjoy our programs. Our adult education is thriving. Hundreds of people are being taught on a yearly basis. And you can also come and visit Beth El and see the work and that we do year long. Tammra, a last thought. If you want to add something, you have a minute to say if you want to say something to one of your friends or family members or someone there. I know there are about 150 people are seeing you now.
Thank you all for coming. I'm honored. And I'm really happy that I got to explain the creative process, because I think that's what people are maybe most mystified by. I'm trying to fix this so I don't look so huge in here. Mystified by, and so it was my joy to share that with you, and I hope that you came away with some new information and insights that you may not have had before. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much, everyone. I want to thank you for doing such a great job. And I also had the pleasure of meeting you this week when you came to see me at the office in preparation for this meeting tonight.
Yeah, I
Ladies
saw you
and gentlemen, I wish you
posted that picture of me in the sweatshirt. I wasn't dressed for the occasion.
That's okay. That's okay.
Yeah.
So I want to wish everyone happy Sukkot, happy New Year, and Tammra, lots of health, and continue to do art because people love your work. I want to thank Ellen Marks and Rebecca for being the technician. Keep us posted about your progress. We would like to see you back at Beth El in our various program. Shalom, and thank you so much, everyone.